Hi, everyone. It's Stefana Muller from Long Island Women in Tech. It's so nice to see you all today. And I would love to just thank LaShana Breland for joining us today and teaching us all about what it's like to be a Salesforce administrator. Shauna is a Long Island Women in Tech director and a 3-time certified Salesforce administrator. So I would imagine she's got some pretty significant expertise in this area and can help us understand how to get into this space of Salesforce administration. Hi, Shauna. You want to just say hello to the crowd?
Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about your job because most of the time I'm talking to you about, Long Island Women in Tech and what things we're going to schedule, and I never actually talk about what you do for your day job. So I'm really excited to have this conversation today. Shona, I have a list of questions, and then we're going to go to the audience as well to ask if they have specific questions for you. My first question is very basic. And it's more trying to get a bit of a background of how you stepped into this field. And I knew you have a very different story, which is fun because most of us in tech have a different story of how we got in. So my question for you is, tell us how you got into this field of Salesforce administration, if you could give us some of that backstory.
Yeah, absolutely. So the short version is it's totally by accident. I took a temp job at a company to stuff envelopes for 2 weeks. It was just supposed to be like they were doing this big mass mailing and I didn't have enough staff. So I took a temp job to be like, I'm just going to stuff envelopes for 8 hours a day for a week and a half and make some extra money. And it's a super small company and no one had any kind of like technical understanding. And I didn't realize that me being like just having a little bit was so amazing to them. I thought it was hilarious. There was like a technical issue with a computer, and I was like, okay, we're gonna like go in the back and refresh, and it's gonna it's really just like the reset, like turn it off, and turn it back on again. Is basically what I did, but that like got the attention of the CEO, and then after the fact, I got hired, and this is the computer the company used Salesforce. So the CEO was acting as the admin. And at the time, everyone in the company had system admin rights to the platform, which if you understand anything about any system, that's a really, really bad idea. So he didn't have time to figure something out. So he was like, hey, you've got time, figure this out. And so I did. I read so much documentation. I spent like a week just reading paragraphs and pages of help documents and just documentation. Figured it out, took it to him, like, okay, here's the solution to what you wanted to do. He's like, okay, cool. Do it again with this thing. And I did that. And then he was like, okay, so this is yours now. And I suddenly became responsible for the entire platform and basically everything electronic in the whole company was my responsibility. And basically became like their CTO, which was really cool and really like just kicked me into growth and learning really, really fast. But it introduced me to Salesforce and it introduced me to this amazing platform that has ultimately changed my life. So
Shauna, I have a quick question about that. Like you said, you were kind of doing all of IT and at the company, but Salesforce was a big focus for them. Is that why you drove further into that area? Or,
yes.
How did that work? Managing the phone systems is one thing, managing your tech systems, was Salesforce the thing that drove that company?
Yeah, Salesforce was the full like backbone. Everything fed into Salesforce. If it wasn't in Salesforce, it didn't happen. So every single phone call had to be logged. Every single piece of documentation that the company received had to be related to an account. Like everything was in Salesforce. So the company, it was really the lifeblood, the source of truth for everything that the company did. But what we realized quickly, or what I realized quickly, was that the system was not being used to its fullest potential. It was very much kind of, they use it almost like a Word document where it's just like you just kind of like write everything down. It's like a notebook rather than using the system with all of its functionality and automations and all the different capabilities. So yeah, me being someone who is kind of obsessed with process and just efficiency, like I used to joke and say that like I'm a fundamentally lazy person, but that's kind of like what it is. Like I love efficiency. I love automation. I'm going to find the easiest way or the simplest way to do something with as little work as possible. So whether that's for me or for my colleagues, I just want to make life easy.
Well, that's pretty good. I actually have an employee who said the same thing to me recently. She was very clear. She's like, I like dashboards because I'm a fundamentally lazy person, and and I like the dashboard to tell everyone what I want them to know. I like that sentiment. I feel I'm the same. I don't like to repeat work, which is great. So let's back up a bit on that, because I think this is really important for those who are joining us today and those who might be listening. What can you use Salesforce to do? I mean, I know, let me just give you my background in Salesforce. I did CRM, customer relationship management in Salesforce. We did some quoting in the tool, like quoting customers, giving them pricing on our product. But that was it at the time. I know it's expanded tremendously since then. So what are the aspects of Salesforce that a company would take advantage of? And I don't expect you to sell the tool, but more just give everyone a big overview of what Salesforce is.
So Salesforce as a product is, and it's really hard to talk about Salesforce without selling it. Like I fully understand that I am 100% biased, but like I'm a big fan. Even like it is where I get my paycheck from, but I'm just a big fan of what they do. But they do everything, any kind of relationship management, anything where you're gonna track your customer in any way. So whether like it's a customer as in a health, you're a patient and it's your doctor using Salesforce and the team of doctors that are all like working with you. They have what's called like a health service or cloud. That's what they call the different services that they have. It's health cloud or service cloud. So for when you call into customer service and it's a call center and they need to send a repairman to come to your house, they have all of that to track. Okay, well here's your warranty number and here's the product that you have. And oh, well, we know that we sold this, that the sales department sold this to you a year ago, so it's still under warranty. And oh, here are the parts for the exact product that you need. And we're going to track the truck that we're sending to you to track the repair. All of that information is available in this one little bubble. So whether it's service centers and call centers, marketing, so that whole relationship of, I mean, we all get the ad emails, right? Where it's almost like creepy, where it like tracks you, where you click on an ad over here and then you go to Instagram and now you've got the ad for that company on Instagram. It's all kind of interconnected. So they say, oh, well, the last time you were on the website, you looked at shoes. So we're going to send you an email to let you know that we're doing a special on shoes and here's a 20% off coupon. All of that is housed within Salesforce. So they can see every single touch that any company has, not any company, but their particular company has had with you as a customer for the whole relationship. So it's really like a huge overview. They call it the customer 360. And it really is. It just covers everything they can possibly help you with.
It's really robust now from where it's come from, right? Just a basic CRM tool is what we were told that it was initially. But really, I think one of the key things that I learned about Salesforce, and then we'll get off this topic of like selling the tool, but is that they actually enable others to develop on their platform. So you don't have to just take what's out of the box. And, that development angle of letting other companies integrate easily, work within, and even develop their own applications within the Salesforce cloud really has expanded their business. Have you seen that in your company as well?
Absolutely. Whether it's like third-party apps, so if it's a technology that Salesforce as a company doesn't offer, there are, other consultancies and other developer organizations that it's like, oh, well, the basic platform doesn't do this, but we built this for you, so you can we'll either offer it to you for free, or it's a paid product, or even larger companies like DocuSign and things like that have integrations that work directly with the platform. So Salesforce itself doesn't have like a contract management system built into it, but they've set it up where Conga or DocuSign can talk to them directly, and you can still track all of that information and all those contracts within the one Salesforce system.
That's pretty cool. Well, let's get off the subject of what Salesforce is and go into your job, because I think that's what everyone here is here for. And folks, if you do have questions and I didn't get to take them, please just chat it in the Zoom chat, and we will definitely pause to ask your questions to Shana. So my next question for you is, what is a Salesforce administrator? Like, what is that job? What do you do?
So, excuse me. As an admin, it's really just, you're basically the herder of cats for your company. So whether it's working in like a business analyst perspective, where you're working with your stakeholders to find out what their actual like requirements and what their needs are, what is broken, what their pain point is, and how you can fix it and how you can utilize the platform to do that. So it's really important to understand like what Salesforce can do so that you can meet those needs. And as an admin, because Salesforce is so robust, almost everything that can be done is done point and click. So it's not really about like writing code from scratch. Obviously there is that, because there is a need for that for some companies depending on what it is. But most things that need to be accomplished in Salesforce can be done by a regular admin, where it's okay, we're going to say, okay, we're going to build an email alert so that when this checkbox is true, send this email to the email address listed on the record. And all of that is very much point and click. So it's very simple to kind of maintain those kind of things.
So the admin is doing a lot of business process automation through a tool, right? And I actually own a team currently in my job that does business process automation. So it seems very similar. Is that a lot of the work is business analyst, business process automation, and then actually building the automation itself? Is that right?
And managing it. Like, so whether it's making updates, changes that happened. It also includes training, which is a huge part of like the ecosystem, as you would say, because you can build the most amazing process, but if your users don't know how to use it, it's useless. So it's also really important to be able to create documentation and transfer that knowledge to your users.
That's key. So you have to be really willing to help users who might not be technically inclined learn this tool and learn how to use the automation you just built for them.
Correct.
That makes sense. Jasmeet has a question. Jasmeet, if you want to unmute and ask your question, I'd be happy to hear your voice instead of just me all the time.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, actually, my question is that I'm very new to the Salesforce platform, and being from the non-IT background, like how much technical know-how is required before starting the Salesforce admin certification? Like, will that affect if I'm from non-IT background, then even after completion of the certification, I will be getting any hurdles to get a job or something? So, yeah.
No, I mean, the preparation for the Salesforce certification for the first one, like the first admin cert, prepares you for everything that you'll need to know, like on a basic level, to function as an admin in Salesforce for any company. So it'll show you like how and where to find workflows and how things are supposed to function and set up relationships and field creation and all that kind of stuff. The preparation to take that certification teaches you all of that. And now, like before, when I started here, there wasn't such a robust training apparatus for Salesforce. It was really just pages and pages and pages of documentation. And now they have Trailhead, which is a free website where you can actually go through training. You get access to what's
Yes.
called a sandbox, and it
Mhm.
step by step takes you through and checks your work for all of it. So it teaches you everything you need to know without really, it's not really about code or anything. It's really about learning where to find and how to set up, basic logic and things in the system. So once you get that first certification, it proves that you know the basics and you shouldn't have a real issue securing a position.
And Shauna, would you say that even if you don't go for the job of, I guess you could quote unquote, Salesforce administrator, having that certification help you get a job as a business analyst at a company that uses Salesforce, or as a business process engineer at a company that uses Salesforce? Because it
Absolutely.
might not be that title, right, that you're applying for even. Is that right?
Yeah. That's exactly right. So yeah, you don't have to go for an admin position, but the admin cert gives like testimony, gives proof that you have at least a fundamental understanding of how the platform works, and therefore you can get a business admin or business process position, no problem.
I think that's a great step in. I've seen that in a few different types of certification roles. Like, hey, you might not be an AWS administrator, but if you got that base level certification, you can step into a business level role and have good background to help you build that technical skill over time.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I cut you off there. Did we answer your question?
Yes, perfectly. Did. I have one more question. If time allows, then I can ask that as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
She mentioned that Trailhead is like one module from where we can prepare, and I'm even taking lessons from there and learning as well. Is there any other platform from where I can practice, like some, if you can suggest something on that, like some mock test or something from where I can prepare more?
For the actual certification exam?
Yes.
So there are a lot of resources online. Like you can honestly just Google it. But
Yeah. Okay.
it's, for me personally, I guess I'm biased. But when you take the first cert exam, they have practice exams that are free. So it gives you the practice to take the exam the way that it's administered. It is administered going forward, and you get to understand like how Salesforce administers the exam and how they grade it. So you get to a better example of like sample questions and whatnot, where the other sources that are going to charge you for the exact same thing are basically just data dumps of that. So at least for the first admin cert, it's always better to just take the practice exam that Salesforce offers for free.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
So when you get, just to clarify this for anyone listening in, when you're signing up for the certification, there is a step prior that could allow you to take this practice exam. So you'd sign up and then they give you access to this practice exams. If I could get my words out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Lauren, thank you so much for mentioning Pep Up Tech. I just saw her chat. She mentioned Pep Up Tech, which is, I believe, a nonprofit that offers training. So it's like live like in-person classes. At least when I was aware of the program. I don't know what they're doing, like, post COVID, but it was like live training. So in a classroom setting for Salesforce. And I have a couple of colleagues who went through the program. So yes, Pep Up Tech is awesome. Is an awesome resource for that as well.
I'll add these links to Trailhead and Pep Up Tech as follow-ups in our podcast, as well as a follow-up in an email to everyone, so that you all can follow up on that. I didn't realize Pep Up Tech was available to folks as well. Looks like they are still working. So awesome. All right. If you do have other questions, definitely keep chatting. I have some more questions for you, Shauna. I guess, when you're trying to get into a job, sometimes you want to get a better understanding of what a day in the life looks like, because it's not always, sitting in Salesforce and scripting out, or if you would, putting a process flow. What would be an end-to-end day for you? What do you spend most of your time on? Can you give us like a walkthrough? Maybe in the morning you get your cup of coffee, and then what
Right.
happens?
My giant cup of tea.
Okay. Oh, tea. Okay. I've got an extra large cup too.
And then for my role in particular, I work for a company that is global. So a large percentage of my work is support based. So like I said, training is a huge deal. So whether it's user error and having to meet with our users to kind of go through or review training or provide documentation, support is a good 30% of my job, of just meeting with people and helping them to understand what it is they need, or joining in like new hire training to introduce them to Salesforce or show them tips and tricks for how things work. But support is a nice big chunk of what I do.
How many users do you have that you're dealing with how many users are you supporting as an organization?
As an organization, over 5,000.
Wow. Okay. That's a big organization to support.
Yeah.
I'm imagining. Okay.
So it's like we're North America, Canada, Europe, and like Malaysia and Australia. So whether it's, taking an hour off, like leaving the office at 4 or like logging off at 4 just so that I can log back in at 8 p.m. so I can meet with people in Malaysia or Australia first thing in the morning for them while I'm like in my PJs just trying to stay awake. That's happened a couple times. But it's I love it because I like to be helpful. I like to make people's lives easier. So support is a big part of that. The other part is fixing broken things. There are a lot of times where updates are made to the platform that I'm so sorry, there's a firehouse across the street and someone is burning down their house. Okay,
it's
cool.
okay. We can hardly hear it. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. It's just really loud for me. What was I saying?
Fixing broken things is your other large part of your job.
Yes, fixing broken things. So when changes are made to the platform from like a Salesforce like corporation, like new releases and things like that happen, or working with our dev team. So that's the people who write the code. There are a lot of times where their code gets old and it will break what new releases are coming in. So we have to, do impact analysis to see what, deactivating their code is going to do and how we can replace that code. So all of that and analyzing all the changes that have to happen in the system just to make life easier, as well as, business analytics for new requests. People are asking for things all the time. So getting those requirements, setting up those timelines for how and when we can build them. So that's my day. It's support, fixing broken things, and preparing to build new things, and then building new things.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a very robust job. You're not just doing one thing or constantly sending, just doing support, but you're also fixing things, building something new. Keeps you on your toes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Lauren, I think we have 3 questions in the queue right now.
Wow.
The first one's from Vicky. Vicky, do you want to ask your question? You can come off mute.
Sure. I was wondering, when you mentioned CRM tools, do you also use Salesforce like with other third-party products like HubSpot? I think it's Soho, like all those other web-based platforms, if I said that right?
Yes. So for other companies I've worked specifically with like HubSpot, but yes, we do integrate with other third-party systems, whether it's Google Analytics for some of our marketing products, or like I stated before, Conga or DocuSign for documentation and contracts. There's lots of integration with third-party products that are available with Salesforce and that we manage. If it touches Salesforce, at least for my company, if it touches Salesforce, then my team is responsible for it. and therefore we manage those integrations.
Awesome, thanks. And then Lauren has a question. Lauren, do you want to chime in?
Sure. The org I currently work at is migrating to another CRM that's a Salesforce platform. What was the process like training other employees to use Salesforce, and was Trailhead used as a part of the initial training?
Okay, so I personally have not done a migration from one CRM to another, but Trailhead, now that it's available, is super, super helpful. They have what's called My Trailhead, which is a product that Salesforce offers, which will gives your organization the opportunity to kind of create their own Salesforce training and kind of weave it into the standard Salesforce training that is available to everybody on trailhead.com or on Trailhead. So yes, Trailhead can be used and is easy to use to like train sales users. And it saves you a lot of time rather than having to, develop your own training for Salesforce, all the recordings and documentation and having to build it yourself. It's easy to kind of like copy paste that information or assign them those specific trailheads in Salesforce.
That's helpful. And Shauna, do you do that today? Do you assign folks in your team, or rather on, to take some Trailhead training, or are you providing that new hire training when they join in?
So I have actually gone through the process of writing up and recording the training for within Salesforce. So that's when I was like, my Trailhead is like the best thing in the world because it saves you time. I spent like 3 months developing training and recording it and rewriting it. So any shortcut that I can take is always better. But yeah, I spend a lot of time doing the training, and when it's designed specifically for an organization, like when you do it yourself, you can make it tailored, which is the best part about doing it yourself, is because you don't have to take in some of the extra information that, say, trailhead.com kind of gives you, as far as like it's kind of irrelevant to the sales process for your specific organization, where you can be very specific. So this is how we do it. Especially if it's not standard, if your organization doesn't use Salesforce in the way that they've designed the sales process, if you guys have any deviation whatsoever, trailhead.com can be a little bit confusing for sales users. But some of the basics, as far as like creating reports and how to create a list view and, emails and how they work. So some of the basics, all of that, I'm just like, here's a link, here's a link, here's a link, here's the video, here's the YouTube video. Go watch it. It's 3 minutes long. That's 15 minutes that I don't have to devote to you. As an admin, I can do something else. But all of the resources are really available, and I really appreciate Salesforce for doing it like that.
That's very helpful. I've worked with many vendors that didn't have enough training, and I'd have to build it from scratch, and then keeping it up to date is not my day job, right? So it becomes stale very quickly. So if you can reuse what's available from the vendor, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Awesome. The next question, Shamika had a question. Shamika, do you want to ask it?
Sure. Hi. I just had a quick question that I'm not sure if you mentioned it before. Right now I'm just like trying to figure out positions that are best for like remote work. Would this be like a good remote position, you would say?
Absolutely. My current role is 100% remote. And I kind of didn't believe them when they told me about it. But I'm 100% remote. My company is Kelly Services. It's based in Michigan. I met my manager in person for the first time 8 months after I started working for the company. So it's my job is fully remote, and there are a lot of fully remote positions that are available if you want a little bit of flexibility and, you know, to be able to, you know, interact with humans on a semi-regular basis. You can do things like consulting or working in like the shared office kind of a thing. But it's definitely something that can be done 100% remote. I went on vacation and like nobody cared because I was working while I was in Mexico. Like, like it's the best thing in the world. Like, yeah, I'm on the beach. Like, what file do you need? Sure. Like, it's great. It's honestly one of the main reasons why I love my job. I love Salesforce in general because it gives that flexibility, and regardless of what route you take, because there are so many with the Salesforce platform, whether it's being an admin, whether it's going towards being a developer, even if you go like fully sales, you can do that. Consulting is also one where there's travel, but it can still be remote. So there's lots of flexibility in the entire ecosystem that is Salesforce.
Thank you.
No problem.
So that sounds like a great opportunity. I know in a lot of IT positions, which is another type of support position, they do require people to be in person because IT is covering a lot of the in-person networking and so on. Whereas this position seems like, hey, you really don't need to be in person as long as you can talk to somebody and work with them and give them support. You can do the work. That's nice to hear.
And in a post-COVID world, I think it's definitely helped because I've had positions where like leadership was like, no, I have to see you, otherwise you're not working. And it's like, no, I actually work better and more if I'm not here. So, but like COVID has proven to a lot of people that we're still just as productive when we're not in front of you.
Yeah, actually a little bit more productive. And in a point where you just said to us earlier that you're on, maybe you sign off at 4 p.m., but you come back at 8 p.m. to handle a call for overseas work. I mean, that flexibility can't really occur in an office. You'll be working way too much what you'd call overtime, even if you're a salaried employee.
Right.
And that's not functional for anyone. So I think that really helps for global organizations.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, I see Lauren has said, I agree, Stefan, I've been more productive remote than in person. I've been remote for about 10 years. Earlier in those 10 years, I had a desk that I was supposed to go to. But since I've left a large company and started with some startups, it's been really mostly remote work, and COVID forced that a little bit further. I don't know if I could go back into an office full time, everyone.
I don't think so either. Like, no.
I kind of miss it. There's a part of me that does
like
miss
I
it.
can visit. Like I'm so down to like visit, like have like a coffee Thursday where we all come into the office. But like I don't want to have to see you guys every day. Like we can video chat. It's cool.
I love that. I love it. Awesome. Well, I think I have another question I'd like to get to, and we're almost out of time, but you didn't touch upon this already. What advice would you give someone trying to get into this type of role? Should they take the Trailhead training and go right for the certification? Are there other routes? Should they be looking at other training outside of just Salesforce to kind of build up to this role? What kind of advice? I know I gave you like answers that I came up with in my head, but but I'm sure you have more direct response to that.
So the best answer to that it's kind of a personal decision. So I was working as an admin without a certification for 2 years. So I had the experience. I was working for a company, and then I got transferred to another company. And they were like, "Yeah, well, you've got the experience, so we don't really care." But as someone who might not necessarily not work at a company that uses Salesforce, to have that everyday user experience, 100% take the trailheads. Even if you're not confident enough to take the certification immediately, still take the trailheads and still kind of like put that on your LinkedIn that you've taken like the super badges and that you're you know, a Trailhead Ranger or wherever your progress is, because there are several routes. There are consultant routes where it gives you like a certification to be a consultant, so to really just sell the product. So at that point, you're just understanding, you know, what the product can do and how another company can utilize it. That's really what it is. If you don't want to have to be the one in the weeds pointing and clicking or writing code, you can go the consultant route and just be like the salesperson in there. If you want to be a developer and you want to write code and you don't care about declarative stuff, then you can go down that road. If you want to go hard and be an architect, which is my ultimate goal, even though I've kind of like had to slow that down, but to be an architect, to have like the full far-reaching like understanding of how the whole platform works and how everything is interconnected, that's a position that you basically get to write your own check. Like companies literally hand you a blank check for how much money you want to be making when you hit architecture level, because you fully understand just the breadth and depth of the platform and how a company can utilize that. So there's so many different levels and different ways that you can pick and choose, whether it's like just security or just, you know, converting from classic to lightning. There are certain people who just do that, who just work with transitioning companies from using the classic version of Salesforce to the new lightning version, which has different, you know, just like it's a different UI experience. And so transitioning them technically and then getting their users to understand how to use the new system, or just being a trainer and again having a full basic understanding of how the platform works and how to help users transition from the button being in the middle of the screen to being 3 inches to the left. So there's lots of different routes.
Those are great descriptions, because it looks like this platform of Salesforce has not only grown from a platform perspective, but it really has multiple paths to entry if you were to try to get a job utilizing the tool. You don't need to be an admin. You could be a developer. You could be a consultant. You could be a salesperson who uses the tool, right? And in a very significant way, you could do marketing through the tool. So there's a lot of value in just even focusing on the base level, if it's not certification, but base level training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
wow. That's
the basic understanding of it.
I'm actually almost convinced that I need to learn it, even though we don't use it here at my company yet.
Hey, like if you need some help transitioning to a new CRM, like I'm here for you.
Nice. Thank you so much. I might be calling Shauna and saying, hey, I need a consultant. Well, we are at time, and I wanted to be cognizant of everyone probably having a bit of a lunchtime right now. So, Shauna, I wanted to thank you for taking the time today and giving us a great overview of your job, what it means to be a Salesforce administrator. Definitely really valuable insight for newbies or even people who are just trying to transition into that type of job, how they can get started with Trailhead or Pep Up Tech that Lauren had mentioned. Really appreciate your time today, and excited to get this message out to more people who are interested.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really had a great time, and I love contributing. So.
Awesome. Well, I'll talk to you all soon, and thanks again. Have a good day.
Everybody.
Thank you.